Thank you, Amity, and thank you, 425, for having me. I'm so humbled to be here. So 23 months ago, I resigned from a role working in corporate strategy for the $3 billion global yoga wear market leader, Lululemon. I'd spent 6 months thinking about that decision. And when I share with people why I made it, this is often the expression I see. Disbelief meets intrigue. The answer to why I left my job is as simple as this. My 4-year-old self in my Lionheart sweatshirt. Look at that fashion sense. Who knew I'd land in the world of apparel 20 years later? And Carrie, girl, I feel your pain. Pete Rose. I actually just Googled Pete Rose on the break because I actually didn't know who he was. And I realized that's where my mom got the inspiration for this haircut from. So I'm going to come back to this story, but first I want to share more about a love affair with entrepreneurship, one that dates back to my teenage years when my mom suggested sewing lessons as a way to kind of channel my creativity. Well, those sewing lessons inspired my very first venture, Lindsay's microwave mitts. I'd like to be able to sit up here and share about how profitable a venture it was. But my naive rookie entrepreneurial self learned very quickly that we were paying ourselves about 25 cents an hour. Right, Mom? That's Canadian dollars to boot. Flash forward 1 year, and my next venture, Millennium Scarves, was born. Y2K. You guys remember Y2K? Get your Millennium Scarf before the world comes to an end. The following years took me on to bigger roles with bigger companies, from the angel investment arena to working for a startup, a fintech startup, to working for the Vancouver 2010 Olympic Games, until one day I received a call about an opportunity of a lifetime, an interview for my dream job. I've never worked so hard to land a role, from sleepless nights to days of research and storyboarding to a nervous stomach, all in prep to pitch the founder of Lululemon on 3 trends happening in the world and how Lululemon should be innovating into those trends. Well, this describes my feeling perfectly. You can imagine the excitement 3 days later when I received a call offering me a role to join Lululemon's corporate strategy team. The next 6 years brought a lot of lessons. I learned a lot during my time there. I learned the power of creating from scratch Lululemon's secret sauce. I learned about the notion of living into your potential, which was kind of a core anchor in our culture there. And lastly, I learned about the practice of yoga. An anxious person by nature, yoga was a tool that helped ground me, and I still practice to this day. Our mandate in corporate strategy was growth. It was to grow the company, and as part of that, to kind of monitor the industry landscape and consumer trends and think about how we should be growing into those and kind of charting that path, defining the blueprint, as Amity said. Well, grow the company we did. But as the years went on, my entrepreneurial spirit beckoned. Those 2 scrappy startups were calling. Adventure knocked. All I had to do was give myself a permission slip to answer that call. Courage, the ability to do something that scares you. So what scared me, well, a lot of things scared me, but what scared me most was the fear of failure. The fear of failing myself, failing my family, failing my network. So back to my Lionheart sweatshirt that I wore to rags as a kid. Did anyone have, when they were young, like a piece of clothing or a blankie or a stuffed animal that made them feel really powerful or invincible? Yeah. So this was that for me, my Lionheart sweatshirt. It was kind of my cloak of armor. So in thinking about leaving Lululemon and in trying to drum up the courage to do that, channeling my inner Lionheart quickly became my mantra. And in May of 2017, I resigned to start up a venture in strategy and innovation consulting, helping companies realize their growth potential. Fear is a funny thing. I had a track coach, Mr. Taylor, once tell me, he'd say, Angelo, fear is an invisible wall. Once you run into it, you realize there was never anything there in the first place. And that was my experience with fear. So I'd invite you to think about, is there an invisible wall holding you back? So I'm happy to share that the past couple of years have been an incredible roller coaster of a ride. Entrepreneurship challenges you in ways nothing else does. And I've spent the past 2 years working with a number of different companies, both advising and consulting, and have recently co-founded a tech startup, which I'm super excited about. And along that whole journey, I've had 2 secret weapons. So my Lionheart, but perhaps more importantly, an incredibly supportive tribe and support system. Without a tribe, entrepreneurship can sometimes feel like you're Tom Hanks in Castaway with Wilson. And I'm so grateful for my tribe. And an anchor in that tribe for me has been my family. And I'm so incredibly happy to have my parents here today. The best business partners a girl could ask for. And all of you, gosh, 425. So incredibly grateful for inviting me into your circle and this Wonder Woman of an arena. So in my interview with Shelby from 425, she asked what my perspective shift had been in moving into this world of entrepreneurship. So there's this scene in The Wizard of Oz where a twister strikes, and it's a black and white scene, and Dorothy gets sucked into this twister in her house, and her house comes crashing down. And Dorothy wakes up, and she gets up, and she walks to her front door, and she opens up her front door, only to discover this world of beautiful technicolor, this world of wonder, of magic, of vibrancy, of energy, of possibility. That's been entrepreneurship for me. It's opening that door and discovering that world of color. So you'll all find a pair of glasses in front of you. You can't miss them. They're vibrant colors. I'm going to ask you to pick them up and try them on. I'm going to put mine on too. And take a few seconds to just look through them. If you look at the light, it's awesome. So what you see, you can snap a selfie with your neighbor later. What you see through these glasses, that world of color, of rainbow color, that perspective shift. Imagine that for yourself. When you find that world of color, that perspective shift, that's when you'll have discovered your inner lion heart. Thank you.